decides to press his luck. Engine roaring 95. He won't make it out alive. Here he comes, he's crashing through. Bullet holes obscure his view. He don't care about damage causes. Always moving, never pauses. He's a dead man walking. Always moving, never stopping. He's a dead man walking. Always moving, never stopping.
Nice.
How's it going,
Nice. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dusty Auspex. This is a podcast, and that's exciting. That is very exciting. That means that you can go home on the internet and watch and listen to this later on.
Again and again.
Now, Steve, have you heard about this internet thing? I think it's fantastic.
I understand it's a series of tools.
Yes, that are interconnected throughout the world. Information superhighway. Get this, if you like football, you can go in the chat room and talk to other people who like football.
Why would you do that?
Maybe you might get to have sex with one
Hey.
down the road.
Now I'm in.
Not immediately. Look. All right, let's take it back, folks. This is not an internet podcast. This is a Warhammer 40K podcast.
Yes.
And what a time to be in the hobby right now. So if you can get past all the tears that people have shed over the edition change, tons of stuff going on. Unprecedented. We just had the Death Guard hook drop. Because I'm not a very a diligent staff member. I'm not sure to what extent it was discussed on last week's show, which is hosted by
Nor am I aware of how much
Fabio and
we're
Kyle.
discussing.
So we may touch on some of that, just because that's...
We may recap.
So yeah,
Some
keep an eye,
stuff's
we
been
do
gone
what we
over
want.
already.
All right, so
We're Mavericks.
just because they talked about it doesn't mean that we can't talk about it. Look, we even brought a Nurgle-themed picnic sheet. So if you could imagine the basket overflowing with bread and poop. Yes, yeah.
Oh, that's
Grapes. Imagine us feeding each other poopy grapes
Oh.
while we discuss the finer points of the Death Guard book. But yeah, aside from that, lots of cool stuff going on. Don't forget, Twin Eagles registration is still happening. Did they fill up
Is
though?
it filled? Is Twin Eagles filled?
We should get a word on that.
I think it might be
Anywho,
full.
Producer
I think it
Scott
might
will let us know. But yeah, Twin Eagles coming up at the end of October, as it always does. Very awesome event. I am super
October
pumped.
27th?
It's
27th?
the Comic-Con Halloween weekend.
26th, 27th. Yeah.
So, very excited about that. There has been some discussion about maybe doing a Mega Battle style event on the following day, on the Sunday.
Cool.
So, if you are down, let Fabio know if you're into that sort of thing. I know that I would love to. I've got like at least 5 digits worth of orcs that I could bring. Like, not all of
Big
it painted,
APOC
but
game.
yeah, it would
Yeah.
be big and dirty. Is
Big and
what
dirty.
that would be.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's worth checking
Big
out.
dirty.
Even if you didn't register, you should come down and watch.
Yep.
Lots of cool stuff going on.
Comic-Con's fun.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to be the second 2v2 in 8th edition that will have been officially played. And I think it'll be really interesting because for me, I was actually really not enjoying 8th edition, as I had made plainly obvious on this show for a couple weeks in a row, until I played the 2v2 event at the expo that was here at PvP Cyber Lounge.
It was good.
I believe 2495 Pembina Highway. Why do I never know? Every week, I'm always guessing.
It's on Pemna. For
Anyway, yeah, get down here, beautiful place. But yeah, once that we had that event, everything just kind of clicked into place, and I really like it. And actually, that kind of segues nicely into something that producer Scott was talking about earlier today.
$27.95 Pemina, yes.
$27.95. There we go. Not 24.
Sorry, that came in. I'm just getting this in. $27.95.
Oh, is producer Scott there? Oh, yes. Yet, no, I will not talk about toilet paper. All right.
Bomb the planet.
Scott, that's not very considerate to say about little people. Okay. Scott hates little people. Sorry.
does.
Sorry, little people. Okay. Anyway, this is going to segue nice into the thing that producer Scott was actually talking about earlier today, which is...
Are we offline?
I think we're still going. Woo!
That is brilliant.
Yeah, beautiful.
That is brilliant.
Anyway, we just had a quick little technical
Segues
difficulty
beautifully
there.
into somebody kicking the camera.
Oh, yeah, that's Steve right there. Yeah, there's me,
Take a bow.
ladies and gentlemen. Very nice.
We're good.
All right, I think we're good now. Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah. All right. Producer Matt, ladies and gentlemen.
Producer Matt, way to go.
All good.
He tried to give himself a nickname. That's why we call him the Turd.
I just call him Producer Matt. He's a dodgeball partner of mine, so you know,
Oh, okay.
gotta be
I
diplomatic.
don't have any vestige.
Anyway, so Scott had sent us an article that was about how stark the differences are between 7th and 8th edition, but
Goals.
just kind of where they went. Because like for a
Yep.
long time, people weren't 100% sure why they weren't liking 8th edition or
Right.
what it was that was so drastically different.
So what you're
Obviously,
talking about
it's-
is these are the Bell Lost Souls articles.
Yeah.
There was 2 of them. The one you're touching on is the difference between 7th and 8th. How are they different? Why are they different?
Yeah, well, and it's because they were discussing about how 7th edition was very list dependent. Like, your army construction was a huge part of your success in a tournament. What
it was
you brought,
pretty much
like,
all this building.
yeah. Well, I mean, like you had
was
to.
a bit plain,
You had to be
of course.
like, you know, only Santa can drive the sleigh, right? So like,
Yeah.
you had to kind of learn how to crack the whip on those reindeer. But for the most part, like, there were certain lists you could just get in and drive them right to the top. Like,
Yeah.
let's not
Some were
like,
easy, though.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, it was the Bike Stars with the Celestine, and before Celestine, it was the Bike Star with the Conclave, and like there were a couple other really strong lists out there, like Magnus and Friends. Like there were just tons and tons of these
Battle
combos.
Company.
Oh god, Battle Company, yeah, exactly.
I ran Battle Company, White Scars Battle Company, so I scouted up with a bunch of grav.
Wasn't there also a Dark Angels one where they got
Dark Angels
free
ones
transports
was
and like
really good as well.
full BS on
And
Overwatch?
I played my White Scars against, and so it's like a 2,500 point game, right? Mine versus the Dark
How
Angels.
long did that take?
Yeah, it took like 5 hours. It was just stupid.
It's like playing
So-
Risk.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
playing Risk. Yeah.
Yeah, and you would expect it to take that long because there was
Yeah.
free points galore. Like the
It was ridiculous.
demons could just keep summoning shit, and basically, for the
Look,
most part,
and
like,
they're like, oh, I save, and then I jink, and then I feel no pain, and then like, and it's all in a 2-up and
Yeah.
rerollable and all that.
and there was so many Band-Aid fixes for things
Yeah.
like oh yeah, you know, we're gonna add a couple more attacks to Dreadnoughts. And you're like, oh good,
Yeah, that
but
didn't
like,
help.
you know, they still move 6 inches a turn and eat shit compared to
they die
other
too
units.
easily.
Yeah,
One shot will kill them.
unless you're OV, like, you know, who's
Yeah.
really running more than... I mean, Contemptors were decent, but they're really good now, you know? Like, I prefer Dreadnoughts now in a big way.
Dreadnoughts
I
are
really
good
like
now.
using them.
They have their limitations, but they're way better than they were. They're usable. Right?
Yeah.
They're usable.
And then also, too, like, Death Guard has bonuses for running Hellbrutes now, so,
Yeah.
like, there are lots of pluses to things now. But the biggest differences now are, like, the use of characters, in my opinion. Because, as we've mentioned before, like, you're running them for their auras, their relics, and their actual role on the battlefield. You're not just running them to get a rule that buffs another rule, and then
it's
you're going to hide them
also,
from everything.
When we're getting codexes, we're finding that it's command points and relics you touched on,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
like indexes were all character buffs, aura buffs. Now we're looking at command points. Now we're looking at relics, and
Yeah.
that really shapes the way an army feels and plays.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just totally different from 7th, whereas 7th was pick and choose, and I think there's a little bit of that still. Like you see a lot of these Imperial soup armies. I'm guilty of it. I'll
Yeah.
take a little bit of this, I'll take a little bit of that. This is the best points efficient thing. I'll take this in one detachment, I'll take this in one detachment, I still get my objective secured. It's kind of gamey.
Using keywords. It's not the worst thing, though.
No.
You know what? Because, like, one thing that I always had a bit of an issue with in, like, back in the day in 3rd and, like, 5th edition. Actually, I think, when did Allies come in? Was that 5th or 6th? I think it was 5th. But in 3rd edition especially, you couldn't run an allied army. You know what I
No.
mean? Like, you basically had a codex, and you made your 4-sword chart from
Yep.
that codex.
And
So
that was
you
it.
just ran that army.
Yep.
And I always thought it was cool when Allies came out that you could run some other stuff. Problem was that with 7th edition, it got to a point where, like, the rule sharing and everything just got, like, way out of control.
The problem is you people break the game and they take
Yeah.
they were like, oh well, I'll take this or I'll take this Dark Angel and this Space Wolf and I'll make a giant thing you can't kill with all the rerolls and stuff. And when Games Workshop saw it at tournaments, they're like, you fucking did what? Like,
Yeah.
they couldn't believe it because it's so against the fluff, and they designed the game with fluff in mind, right?
Yeah, I know, and that's one of the issues, and that's always kind of been how they've functioned. You know what I mean? Like, there was never an edition that was, like, straight up for the tournament
This
player.
edition is the first edition where they're addressing that, where they're doing the match play
Yeah.
rules and they're addressing the concerns, and it's restrictive, and there's it feels like there's design that's been put into it, not just like, oh well, people don't play that way. Like,
Yeah.
well, but yeah, they do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can't just bury your head in the sand when you have a game that's popular.
Exactly.
Like,
and people
it's
are like,
undeniable.
you're playing with gamers. Like, they're the people that are into this game are not. They're not people that play Parcheesi and eat pretzels. Like, these are people
Yeah.
that are like engineers or
Yeah.
teachers or
A lot of people invest serious cash
mathematicians.
into this game, and that's a big
and they're
part
not
of why.
dum-dums. Like, they're very smart people, and they don't. You know, we're all dudes. We like to win, so we're gonna play competitively. And if it means I'm kind of like doing something a little cheesy, like, oh well, whatever. You know, like,
Yeah.
I'll do what I got to do to win, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Like, when you have an economy like this game does, where essentially used models have value because new models are so expensive,
Yep.
you have to at least pair that with playability so that people can
Absolutely.
enjoy those things. Or else the used value, I mean, granted, Games Workshop doesn't care that much about the used value, but the used value is affected by the new, and you can't keep charging more for more models without matching that with, like, a decent level of gameplay for people that actually makes sense.
Agreed.
You know?
Yep.
Like, Mortarion is like $170.
Yep.
you gotta have a playable game if something's gonna cost that much money.
He's beautiful. It's a beautiful model.
Yeah. And you know what? People were ragging on it on the internet, saying like, ugh, before it came out, like, ugh, Mortarion looks, ugh. And like I said, I thought it looked awesome on the cast. I remember some people in the comments were like, do you really? And I was like, yeah. I don't know. Like, I think it looks awesome.
He's floating. He's
totally.
Awesome.
And he like I saw Derek. Shout out to Derek's. Actually, he posted his.
Yeah.
In the Death Guard Facebook group, and was having people there were saying like, this is my favorite version in this group so far.
Yep.
You know, like his looks really nice. So, excellent work, Derek. She's a very pretty Mortarion.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that guess we should talk about Nurgle.
But before we do, there was another Bulls article that I think we should touch on.
Sure.
And that was the death of fast attack.
Yes,
So,
I saw that.
Yeah, I read it.
Everything is so goddamn fast already.
You know what the thing is? The guy was like, you can't use speeders, and this is the function of speeders, and they're easy to kill, and they're not doing that much damage output. I don't think that necessarily means all fast attack is shit, and I think that each army, like army to army, is different. Like there's going to be some, your AdMech may not be a very fast attack army, and you may have something like Dark Eldar that's very fast attack, so their fast attack options are better, right? So I don't necessarily think that there's a death of any one particular type. I think this guy that wrote the article has land speeders and he's pissed.
Yeah.
That was what I took from it.
You know what? When I saw that article, the first thing that came to mind was, stuff is pretty fast already, even if it's not. You know what I mean? Like I'm primarily an Orc player, and Orc boys can move 4 inches and then run, or I guess advance. And if there's a war boss nearby, they can still charge.
Yep.
Or I can teleport them with a weird boy and roll a rerollable charge.
Yep.
So those are guys that move, they move 5 inches, plus the advance. Those are guys, though, that move classically very slowly, but can pretty much make it anywhere if paired with the right stuff.
Yep.
And that's getting, touching on the auras and relics.
And you want your assault weapons, right? Because you do your advanced move and you're only -1.
Yeah.
So you're still moving far, but you can still shoot not quite as well, but you're getting into position, right?
You know what I think hurt fast attack too was doubling down on the wounds for bikers, because bikers are all 2 wound units now.
Yep.
And the part that hurts them is that they cost a shitload of points now.
Yeah, they're too expensive.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that are not costed appropriately. Drop pods are inappropriately costed because I don't know what it was. I guess somebody was like, those drop pods are winning too many games, so they just sort of like, let's triple it or whatever.
Drop pod formations were winning too many games.
It's like sometimes
why tax the pod itself?
It was a big undertaking to like revamp the entire game, and for the most part, it's like 80% good, right? There's a couple things that aren't. Right?
There's still kinks.
You can still take a drop pod, but if you have 9, you're a little pissed off right now.
Yeah, you're probably won't be running 9 drop pods.
Or if you have 9 rhinos.
If you were an Ultramarine player in the tail end of 7th edition, wah wah.
Or White Scars player.
Yeah, fuck. Oh god. Yeah, but you know what? Like things like that, I think probably were perceived to be overly dangerous because you could use them with Skyhammer formations, but that wasn't. It was the formation that made it scary,
they were kind of
right?
tough because they were toughness or no armor. They were armored as well, but they were and they would be objective secured in a battle company.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
you could drop them next to objectives, and then you have to kill it in order to take the objective, take them off the objective.
Right.
It's just annoying. Something in your backfield that gets line breaker.
You know what though? Like they could have done it in a way that didn't make it, totally unaffordable. Like I have Blood Angels at home right now that I was getting ready to put on the internet for sale, and in my mind, in 7th Ed, I was like, ooh, I should get a couple more drop pods to complement this army. So I did. I have 2 that I haven't built now, but I have 2 that are built. And now I'm thinking like, if I'm going to sell this stuff, I got to break this up into 2 armies with 1 drop pod apiece because a bunch of drop pods just aren't
Nobody
that attractive
wants it.
anymore. Yeah.
What was like somebody posted something in the buy-sell trade, and it was like $2,000 worth of Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I want to keep it together. Like, well, you've got 3
I think
armies
he was asking
there,
like
bud.
$1,500.
Yeah, he wants $1,500, and you have like 3 armies.
It's just
like,
too much
split
stuff,
it up, or sell it. Like say, okay, I'll sell it, but just go 2/3 of retail. I always just go 2/3, and then if people go, oh well, maybe a little less, I go fuck off. And if they want to give me more, cool, right? Like,
yeah, well, precisely. We're dealing with used 40K, like it's used, right?
But it still has
unless it's
some
painted
value.
like SIDS,
Right.
you're gonna have a tough time trying to get extra money out of people.
Yeah. And it's not a good way to make money. Like, it's not like, oh, I put all this time into it. Part of the hobby is the enjoyment of painting, and you got to look at it that way.
Yeah.
I put on some tunes, I had a cup of tea, nobody was fucking with me, and I was painting miniatures, and that's a nice,
You know what I
that's
like about
valuable,
40K?
that time to you.
There's 3 elements that make it super attractive to me. One of them is that hobby time. Second one is the fluff, and then the third one is the actual game, like playing it.
Yeah.
There's like 3 elements that ignite that fire in old Dano.
There's a podcast, and I think it's like, oh, what's your hobby progress been? And I don't want to call it that, but we should discuss like what we've been doing.
Yeah,
call it
yeah,
hobby
right,
time.
yeah,
Maybe
sure.
we can put our own like dusty Auspex
We could, like, stand
spin
it,
on it.
getting
We'll
dusty.
call it fucking hobby time.
Did you get dusty this week?
Dusty. Did you get dusty on your Auspex?
Oh, Steven.
So what have you been up to this week as far as fucking hobby time?
Well, let me ask the old hand.
Heyo!
It was painting.
Nice.
Actually, I wouldn't even really... You know what? Actually, I did do painting. So I've been working on, as I mentioned, the Blood Angel stuff that I want to sell on eBay. I've got a Death Company army that I haven't started yet, and a regular Blood Angel army that I have started, and am getting pretty decently far along on. So lately I've been basing stuff, because I bought a roll of cork from Michael's. And actually, the stuff is fantastic. Like, it makes instant, cool-looking bases, especially if you just go, like,
cork,
spray it black, a little bit of gray, a little bit of blue, a little bit of white, you know? And then it looks like
just
a shadowy piece of rock. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I'm basing them all on that. I've got through about half of it. I haven't started vehicles yet, because there's a Storm Raven, a Furioso, and a Drop Pod.
Nice.
There's also a Derrideo, and I don't really know if I want to get rid of it, or if I want to make it into Nurgle.
Do you have Death Company?
Yes,
Did you see my Death Company?
I've got a ton of Death Company.
Did you see how I did my Death Company Storm Raven?
Oh, no.
With the
no.
X. I did it so the X is like not on the wing, it's across the entire vehicle.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it looks pretty slick.
I should check that
I'll
out,
send you a
yeah.
picture.
I've got the base layer of the red on it, but I don't really know, like, what to do with the rest of it. I'll figure it out eventually, but I'm going for, like, that semi-weathered look where there's a little bit of stippling and shit on it.
Yep.
So finished up the Death Company, finished up Terminators. I got a Terminator Chaplain that I finished up. I also did a squad of just Marines, and then the 6 Death Company Marines took forever, though. And then aside from that, I busted out some Orcs, because I'm trying to slowly get through all of it to, like, a decent standard. So I based 30 Choppa Boys with the Cork stuff on 25 mil or 28 mil bases. The standard 25, yeah.
28
and
mil
then,
models, 25 mil bases.
Right, yeah. And then 32 mils for the
Marines.
for characters. Yeah, so I did my knobs on 32s. And then I also took the green wash and did the arms on just a crap load of boys. And I'm lucky that I can do that speed painting, because I'm doing what you told me. Basically, when we first were talking about this is like in the winter, I think, when you came to Rory's place. But basically, I was like, yeah, I'm thinking of doing bad moves. And you're like, yeah, I know a guy who just sprayed them all yellow. And washed the arms green. And I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I have so many of these things to get through.
It is like a huge time saver.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, just lean on your buddies, lean on your community, and say, like, hey, I got a huge project. Like, I'm, if you don't mind, I'll go into mine.
Yeah, sure. Actually, just before you say, shout out to Gabe, who's watching, talking about Logan Grimnar, because we were whipping reindeer. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. I'm converting Skaven into Imperial Guard just because I have a ton of Skaven, and I've always wanted to do a Imperial Guard Beastman army. And in this version, it's in the very back of the book. It says the abhumans are like once upon a time they were used, or I think they're phasing it out. They don't want abhumans or beastmen in Imperial Guard. So I'm like, fuck you guys, I'm doing an army. So I got a bunch of
hairy ratmen.
I got a bunch of ratlings, a bunch of Skaven that I'm going to turn into guardsmen.
Actually,
I just
ratlings
acquired
is like a good pun there for
exactly.
Yeah.
I just acquired one of the old Sentinels. I acquired 6 of them, and I'm going to stick a rattling head on the top there.
Let me throw that up a little
head.
closer. So this is like a Rogue Trader. This is
Rogue
very
Trader. That's
early.
like very, very old school. There you go. I have 6 of those. That's a multi-laser. That's not an assault cannon. That's a multi-laser. And as you'll see, there's like a little guard helmet. I can just swap that out with a Skaven head. So that's my kind of like my labor of love right now, my project where there's no rush. I'm just
Yeah.
going to take my time and have fun with it. When I'm not working on other things, I'll go back to that and work on it.
It's nice to have one of those long-term ones.
Yeah.
Because one where you like put all the extra time into it. Like I love playing the game like almost as much as I love the hobby. So like sometimes I'll have all these grand ideas and then it'll come to like game day and I'm like, oh shit, I just want to play with this, and then I'll just build it instead of
I almost
painting each piece and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
doing
yeah,
it,
yeah.
you know, like
Agreed. I almost just want to play like that'll be my army where I only ever use power levels to play.
Yeah.
Like it's only going to be like narrative fun games like, hey, Sunday let's have a couple beer and a pizza and let's
Play
play
some
a fun game.
open war
Let's play
cards.
open war cards. Sweet.
Actually, producer Josh, do you think you could pass me the box over there? It looks like
A pack of
Scott,
cigarettes.
I think, producer Scott, wants me to show this Orc Crane. So, long story short, Planes of War happened. In addition to, don't want anyone to see your face there, producer Josh. Don't worry. He's got a real 8 Mile vibe going on right now. Spaghetti, his mom's spaghetti.
You only got one shot.
His vomit on his sweater, spaghetti. Mom's spaghetti. Have you ever had one spaghetti? Anyway.
One spaghetti.
Okay, so I built an orc table, like a display board for Planes of War, once upon a time, and Mr. Producer Scott is also building an orc table. So it just so happened that he saw this crane that I made out of a spray paint can and some other tools, and wanted to purchase it
Yep.
from old Dano for his orc table. So
Nice.
I'm just loading in this chain here, which is part of the crane. The chain will do you good, you know that.
Chain on the crane.
Oh,
what they
come
say.
on. Get in there.
Shout
Anyway.
out to Errol Anderson. Thanks for the heavy weapons. He helped me out. We did a little
So, this is the orc crane that I created.
nice.
It's a little tough to see there. Maybe if we put it right here.
Don't mess up my sentinel, man.
Any chance you could pass me that thing, Steve? Anyway,
I'll try not to kick the camera.
so this thing was on a display board. At this point in time, it is no longer on a display board. Scott's going to have a little bit of repairs to do for it. Lots of cool features, like little las cannons, lots of bits. But yeah, I don't know. There it is. So congratulations, Scott. We have shown your cool new crane on the show. Look at that, ladies and gents.
It's got a las cannon.
It does, and the last cannon has fallen off
Pew, 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 pew.
in a real orcish fashion. So yeah, that's
I hope I didn't scare anyone.
This wasn't exactly this week though. This wasn't like a this week hobby. That was lovely little bomb you got there.
I dropped a bomb.
Dropping bombs, Steve.
Yep. On your mom's.
Speaking of dropping bombs,
Yes.
we have kind of an interesting subject that we wanted to touch on for this episode.
We did.
That watch out, folks. We got Eminem coming through here again.
You only got one
There he
shot.
goes. Yeah. Spaghetti. There's vomit on his sweater. Spaghetti. Mom, spaghetti.
He's gonna pop some confetti.
He's nervous.
He knows that he's ready.
On his palms, spaghetti. Okay.
Just keep saying spaghetti. Don't rhyme.
Oh yeah, that's
awesome.
the trick. That's classic. Actually, it's classic internet. I'll have to send you that. Anyway, so we were going to talk about 40K widows. Ooh. Ooh.
I'd like to say a special hello to Lena.
Yeah.
Your man Mike has just joined the hobby and has been home a lot less.
Yeah, and,
And a lot
shout
less
out,
attentive.
shout
I'm
outs to
sure.
Sarah for tolerating my hobbying.
I'd like to say thanks, Susie. I love you.
I
Thanks for
love
being
you
so
too,
patient.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I've recently come somewhat close to that. Things are much better now. We figured
Yep.
out where each of us are
Are.
actually at about this sort of thing. And I'll admit, I kind of got a little bit, overzealous with how much Warhammer I would leave around our place. Like, I've lived with my girlfriend for 3 years now, and she's super nice. She's a bit of a hippie and very happy that I do have a hobby and something that, I can do in my
Yep.
spare time, blah, blah, blah.
There's way worse things to be doing.
Exactly. But I do have I have historically spent a lot of money on it. Granted, it does hold a residual value. Like, there's not a ton of depreciation on 40K,
Not really.
provided you're not just like.
It's like, yeah. It's
But
It's not like you didn't buy like stamps or coins. It's not like that valuable. It has personal value to you, and we put value on it. But to like, you got to think about it. Like for us, we think it's really cool and we're into it. But it would be like if we went into a quilting convention. That's how cool it is for a lot of people that don't play it, right? Like, I don't want to say necessarily girls. I don't want to make it a gender thing. People that are not interested in it are like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like,
and if my apartment was like a third quilts, I'd probably
I'd be
eventually
annoyed.
have a problem with it.
I'd have a problem. I'd be like, "Man, you need to deal with these quilts."
Yeah, it's you need to like get some rolls and roll up your quilts and just chuck them in a thing, you know.
You need to buy a hamper.
But basically, long story short, I've had like a 40K corner in our place.
Yep.
And it just got to the point where like I was, sitting there building stuff and painting stuff all the goddamn time. And not to a point where like, oh, like you've neglected me. But eventually she was kind of like, how much time are you realistically going to spend on all this shit? And
I've been putting a lot of thought.
You know?
I've been putting a lot of thought into this lately. On that, when you're going to do your hobby, do it maybe when your partner's not there.
Exactly. And
like
that's
when,
what I've
if you have
started
time
doing.
when she's in bed.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you're a girl that does it when he's in bed. But
or at
mostly
work.
we're talking to guys. Make
Yeah.
sure that they're in bed or away or whatever, and then put on your podcast, your tunes or whatever, and just get into it and put like 2 or 3 hours into it. Really accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
Don't half-ass it where they're annoyed when they want to be watching TV with you and you're like playing games and playing with your models. It's annoying, right? Make sure you pack your stuff away.
That's
Don't
a big
leave
one. We were talking about that before the show, and I have not done that yet. And that is something that I think I need to do, and it's probably a great idea.
I was at a buddy's place today doing a trade where I got the Sentinels, and he has a room that's like his little hobby room, and you go in there, it's like a little closet, it's full of stuff, and his table is totally disorganized. There's stuff everywhere. It looks just like my space would be.
Yeah.
But you can close the door, and you don't see it.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Like, so if you don't... For me, I have like an island in my kitchen that I paint on, and now we've sort of sorted out the drawers underneath. I tuck all my stuff away when I'm not painting or modeling or whatever. Everything's out of sight.
Yeah, and actually,
I'm
I'm kind of jealous of that because that sounds like an excellent setup.
Get some Rubbermaid bins. They're like $7 a bin or something. Like whatever it takes. Just put the stuff away.
Yeah.
If they don't have to see it, you're gonna have less drama. I bet.
Yeah. Shout out to FAC Mild. It's a hell of a name. Decided to go with orcs. Good man or woman. I'm assuming man because of the hobby, but with a name like FAC Mild, you could be whatever you want.
Orcs.
Mang. Orcs are sick. I love orcs. So good job. Congratulations. Tip of the hat.
Okay, something else. My wife said, I don't mind you playing the game. I don't mind you doing the podcast. I don't mind you going away and doing stuff. What I don't appreciate is when you're pissed off about something. It was something to do with the campaign. I was ticked, and I was like my face was like this. I'm like, it's like, what are you mad about? Are you mad about your little men? Like, yeah. What are you mad about? The campaign thing. I can't play a certain thing I want to play, and I'm mad. And she thought I was being stupid because I was. Don't let your hobby stuff affect your personal life.
Yeah, don't let that shit cross over on the regular.
Don't. It's
or
toys,
even at
it's
all,
plastic.
you know? Yeah, exactly.
It's a fun hobby thing we do. If it's making you actually angry, don't let it affect your personal life because, like, legitimately, it's something I don't have any problem with that. Like, it's legit. Don't be shitty in our real life about your hobby.
Hey, yeah, don't let 40K inspire the shittiness.
Yeah.
Which is totally fair.
There's enough things, like real things, to piss you off in life.
Yeah.
You don't need to get pissed off about a made-up universe that really, if you look at it, is pretty ridiculous.
Yep, that's very true.
We're playing. It's a space-age, spacefaring game where people shoot at each other and hit each other with swords.
Look, I love 40K, but every time I have to tell another grown human being what space marines are, I gotta tell you, I feel like an idiot.
I love it when people. I have my display cases up because I figure I put that much time in it. I can display it, but like people will come in and they'll be like, "What's that?" Like, that's a hobby I'm into. Do you want me to explain it? Like, it's going to take a long time.
Here's an explanation of what it is.
Yeah, I do it like a really brief, like 2-minute quick, like it's a science fiction game. It's a tabletop war game like World War II. It has elements of model train building, and I kind of leave it at that. If they show lots of interest, then I'll explain different factions. and
Please
stuff.
come play with
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Why don't you have a game? Your first game's free. Your first hit's free, baby.
Oh God, baby, come play some 40K, baby.
Play some 40K.
Oh God.
I'll treat you right.
Too bad that doesn't work with spouses. Like, I'd rather not. Okay.
Actually, and my wife was going to play 40K with me. She's had all the intentions, and then I showed her the books, and she's like, "Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm not fucking playing that."
There's a lot of elements to it. Okay, so Logan's asking, what are y'all bringing to Twin Eagles? Well, Logan, excellent question. Steve, why don't we
Stuff
start
that
with you?
kills Death Guard
Ooh.
and Nurgle stuff. That's what I'm specifically anti-Logan stuff. That's what
Shots
I'm bringing.
fired. I've been toying around with some shit. I've got a few ideas that I'm interested in. One of them is, I think it's 2 battle wagons with 2 20-man orc mobs and then 2 mech dreads. And mech dreads actually are goddamn crazy. I gotta find this thing here because no one will believe it. They're so strong out of the Forge World Index. Some of the stuff that they actually came out with in that index, I was kind of blown away by. Like, they forgot things, like they forgot quad mortars, they forgot mega dreads for orcs and stuff. But, okay, the guns on these things, it's called a Big Zappa. So 36-inch range, heavy 3, strength 2d6, AP -4, 4 damage. And before firing the weapon, roll to determine the strength. If the result is 12, do not make a wound roll. Instead, if it hits, each hit causes 3 mortal wounds. Then the bearer suffers a mortal wound.
Holy shit!
And it has 2 of them.
Wow,
And they hit on a 4+ instead of a 5+, like most orc stuff.
nice.
And
You
they have
something that'll
16
reroll?
wounds. What's that?
Is there something that'll give you a reroll?
Not really. Like, these things are pretty cool, too, because they have a force field, so they can make a bubble around all the stuff that they're walking by. But
You take a mortal wound if you do 3 mortal wounds.
yeah, if
Or
you
you
roll a 12
automatically-
for strength, you take a mortal wound, and every hit you get deals 3. So it's heavy 3. Let's say you hit
and then you
4
take 1
times.
mortal wound. Yeah, I
Yeah,
follow,
that's
I
only
follow.
for strength
So that's
12.
1. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's not
But you're
bad.
still hitting on a 4+, which, like, for an orc player, is
Yeah.
incredible. Like, the kill tank that they did in the Forge World book also hits on a 4+, which is nutty. Like, that's, an orc vehicle that has a 50-50 chance in hitting, which is unbelievably good
Yeah,
compared
for
to their
orcs.
normal shit.
Yeah.
I was playing against Marin last week at the event that they had at PvP on Sunday.
Yep.
And he had a lot of Tyranid stuff that was -1 to hit for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of guns that were basically just snapshotting in like 7th edition at his crap.
Yep.
So that +1 to BS is sick. So I've been thinking about doing that. The other thing I was thinking about doing was a bike list. And then the other one I was thinking about doing was the Weird Boy Fling list.
Ooh.
So basically, like, almost 700 points of boys, and then just, like, 2 weird boys in case one of them dies, and just, like, fling the shit out of those things while Martin does his shooting.
Yep.
So those are the 3 things I've been considering. I mean, the bike list would be cool. They get all these extra shots now, but there's so many points, and you only get, like,
Yeah.
X number of bikes.
Yep.
I think it would be stupid for me to take an elite list when Martin is playing strictly heavy support.
Yep.
Because, like, if my shit all dies, or his all dies, both of us
You're
are
in
going to be
trouble.
screwed, yeah.
Well, it's we knew what the lists were going in. Ovi and I, my partner Ovi and I, knew
Yeah.
what the missions were. So we knew that there was one that was like a heavy support. It was Big Duns, Never Ever, Tire,
Yeah.
or whatever. So we just didn't take any heavy support choices because we're dicks that way, right?
Oh, no,
Like,
I
but-
think Logan was asking what you're going to bring to Twin Eagles.
Oh, I know.
Oh, okay, sorry, I thought you were referring to the last event.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, okay.
I was.
All right, well,
Logan would like to know what I'm bringing, and I'm not going to tell him. You'll see when we hit the table
okay.
there.
So
but-
you've decided then?
Oh, I know what I'm
You're-
taking.
okay, all right.
I have my list.
I'm still
actually,
super undecided,
Pretty much,
yeah.
except I'm just waiting to get my codex on Saturday, and then I'll know exactly where. Oh,
Is it Blood Angels?
no,
Okay.
no, it's AdMac.
Oh, okay. All right,
Yeah.
sure. Is
Yeah.
the book going to be good by then? I think it should be.
I get the book Saturday. So.
Oh, yeah, sick. So you'll be good, yeah. Yeah. You've got, like, there's
There's
basically
some
like a
great
10-day
stuff.
window
Yeah.
left for books to come out.
Yeah, so I'm taking AdMech.
Just sneak
I
right
think I
in
might
there.
take pure. Like you can just go like I take this detachment as pure, and I'll get all my command points, and I take this detachment too to be shitty. But
Yeah.
I think like if you want all your command points and stuff, your entire army should have to be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something they should address because you can always just take like, oh, but you know what? I want Celestine, so I'm going to take her.
Yeah,
and I'll take it
yeah.
in this like whatever.
Yeah.
I don't get a command point, but I can just take her and like whatever.
Same thing with the Lord of War add-on, like
Yep.
all that stuff.
It's stupid.
I think, that's one thing I've been pulling for in competitive play is
Yeah.
basically a standardization of a Force Org.
Yeah,
across the board.
something like
Just so people
like
don't
if you
roll in
want,
with all heavy
and it's,
support,
it's
all fast
like,
attack.
But like if you, I'm just more like army pure. Like if you want to run allies, that's cool. But if you run allies, you can't use the bonus command points. You can't use the relics. You can't use that.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, this detachment is pure. So in that detachment, I can use all the relics and the command points and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is how it currently is worded. Which
Yeah.
is kind of shitty. And gamers will game, like our fucking Space Wolf, Dark Angels, Death Star,
Space Marine
bullshit.
soup.
Space Marine soup. Like gamers will game, and I know they will, so I will too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, you have
they
to.
make me play
Yeah.
that game. They make me do it.
You'll end up like me in 7th edition, which is basically just like someone with Stockholm syndrome who's just like, one
They
day
didn't
it'll get
mean to
better.
do it.
Yeah.
They didn't mean to do it. They're under a lot of pressure. They're under a lot of pressure.
The orcs will be there one day. Oh god! But you know what? Like, I don't know. It's not that bad, but it happens. And I think with the way that it's set up now, there's just too much do whatever you want. And I think in a tournament,
Yeah.
there's got to be a little bit of a
There should be
common
something.
thread.
There should be something like if you, I don't know.
There needs to be a common thread.
I think there should be some sort of penalty for taking allies, and it's fine. Like take Imperial soup, take like a little bit of AdMech, take your Celestine, take your huge conscript blob. Cool.
Yeah.
But you don't get the command points, or you don't get something. Like,
Yeah.
And as tournament organizers, that can easily be done. Just be like, if you don't have a pure army, what we count as pure, then you don't get to use your command points.
I'd really like, because like the game that I always compare the competitive play to for this is Magic, and whether or not that's a fair comparison to make, I don't really care. But it's the two games that I have the most experience with on a competitive level, and Magic is structured really strongly for competitive play because they know that's where
That's
the
where all the
regulars are,
interest
the
was.
diehards are. Yeah. Like the casual Magic player is great and all, but like the game is mechanically designed to be strong in a competitive setting. So when you look at how 40K tournaments are run, like in a Magic tournament, you know you're going in there, everyone's running 60 cards, not like 100, because that's stupid, you know, like it lowers your chances of success. But in a 40K tournament, you know, you could just run whatever you want, you know, like you could be against a guy who's running 5 heavy support choices and like a Lord of War, and then you're just playing a standard like Force Org, you know, like a battalion or something, and maybe that doesn't always suck, but maybe you go against one guy where your heavy support is just like insane and none of it needs line of sight, or, you know, like there's all these different elements that exist. I just think it's too different, and I think to compare people just like fairly in a competitive setting, they should all be starting at the same point. You know,
Yeah.
like you don't have runners who've earned extra points who can like start, you know, 3 meters ahead of everyone else in like a 100-meter relay. Like you got to have everyone at the same starting point. That's why I think like saying this is the ITC Force Org chart for 8th edition, I think would be awesome. And
Yeah.
I don't think they'll ever do it, but I think that would be such a good starting point.
I don't disagree. There's certain things like the command detachment, like you get bonus points and it's all commanders, like especially with the what's
I
going
hate
on with
that,
the
yeah.
Tau right now,
Or like the
the Lord
Malignant-
of War, like 3 Lords of War. Because
The,
like basically a Wraith Knight is unplayable right now, but 3 Wraith Knights is kind of okay, right? Like and you
Pretty
buff them,
strong.
like. But it can be done. Like as it stands right now, Wraith Knights.
There's
just
also-
aren't.
there's
they're
people who take,
more expensive than Knights, so they're not viable.
What are those the HQ detachments where guys will just take like
The
5
pre-command detachment.
Yeah, and they'll take like 5
And it gives you a
min
command
point
point.
psychers
Oh yeah.
just to smite the piss out of everything.
Yeah,
and it's just
smite spam.
insanity.
And so the answer to spite spam was Colexus Assassins. I'll run 10 Colexus Assassins, which is fine if you have 10 Colexus Assassins. Don't put a fucking Cheeto on a base and say
Yeah.
that's a Colexus Assassin. That's not cool.
Ugh.
I want to see 10 Colexus Assassins. Okay, I'll begrudgingly play you that game then, right?
And see, that's what I think
And
is
hopefully I have a lot
hurting
of
the
flavors.
competitive scene. And I think
Yeah.
if what Magic did was sideboards that they allowed in
Yep.
40K,
That'd be
maybe
cool.
that's not so bad.
I'm totally
know?
for sideboards.
And you can
For
do
in a
it
tournament
right at the start of
like
the game.
500 points that you can swap out.
Yeah.
And if we did power levels, it would work easier. And I know like a lot of people are really against power levels. I want to try it. Like
They
I
don't seem
played
to
some
be
games
proven
with
to
it.
be like even enough yet, but maybe they
People
will,
have done the math and said, no, you'll take all the best stuff, so all the best stuff will be, and that'll be an advantage, blah, blah. And yes, legitimately, but if everyone does it, then everyone's taking the best stuff. I don't know.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Because
Like,
you just pay power level for the squad, and then depending on shit, like I remember I saw in the Nurgle book, like add wings for 1 power level.
Right.
Which I don't think there actually is a point value to anywhere in the book. People have been complaining about this online already. But you know,
this is an
they're
anomaly
cranking
in a
these things
Games
out.
Workshop?
Yeah.
Get the shit out
What?
of town. That's crazy.
And I paid $60 for it. This is unprecedented.
Only 60.
Um,
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think that there's too many weird anomalies happening that are starting to crop up with this edition, and that's why I think that standardizing competitive play would be awesome. You
Yeah,
know?
I
And then
agree.
everyone's pretty much coming in the same shit, like in Magic cards. You know, like producer Josh can attest to this. It's a max 4 of whatever you're putting in your deck. Like you don't get to just go, yeah, I'll just play with all these. You know,
Yeah.
like it's insanity.
Cards have 16,000.
Historically, like yeah. Yeah. So,
Well, unless it's limited and it's only one, right?
well,
Like
if they
balance?
restrict, yeah.
It is as many as you can draft.
You're thinking of limited format. He means like restricted, band restricted list. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, they do put out a band restricted list.
I was ranked in the 90s.
nice.
I used to play,
So, look, do you remember your DCI number?
No, I can look it up though.
How many digits is it? That's what matters.
3?
Oh wow, that's awesome. Mine's 8. Mine's
Yeah.
8, and some people could think that that's ballin'. 3 is like, congratulations, sir.
I
am
played.
knighting you a
We
Magic."
tried the game out when it was alpha, the rounded
Yeah.
corners, and we used to trade moxes for lands because we didn't know the value of cards.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the value of cards now is like enough.
I
to make
sold
me
my
never wanna
cards
play
for
the
like
game
something
again.
close to $1,000 when I got out of it, like
Yeah,
in the mid-90s.
a single mox is worth way more than that.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's
I'm
it's
sure.
just it like breaks my heart
Yeah.
knowing all the values of those cards. That's why I won't get back into it because I just know that like there was a time when old Dano would have been on top.
Somebody gave me a deck, actually. I moved to Gimli like a year and a half ago, and somebody gave me a deck. Here's all the stuff you need. Here's some dice to play it. And I played
Yeah.
with some kids, and I was just like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm already into 40K. It's enough.
You know, 40K was the game that I progressed onto from Magic
Yeah.
cards because I liked that there was a little more to it. It took a little more time, and the people that I was playing against, not to like diss the Magic community or anything, were typically a little bit older and a little bit more tactile, in a different way. You know, like it's way different playing the game like Winston Churchill
masturbated
and
a
like
lot?
Stalin. You know, moving your stuff around
Yeah.
on the table instead of just like you know, having unreal cards and like having a great draw. There's a lot of luck involved with Magic
Yep.
in addition to skill. Whereas with this game, there's just
Yeah.
a lot more skill. You know, it's almost all
Unless you're
skill.
doing like a mana shuffle where it's like 2 cards in one.
Well, yeah, but no one will let you play with that
No one will
unless
let
you
you do
riffle
that.
it. I think like
Yeah.
7 times
Yeah.
is like legally
seven
what you're supposed
riffle, and then all the lands are together.
to. Yeah, exactly. Logan, what did you say there? Remember, 3 Preds will put out more shots, has more wounds, and is less points than 1 Knight. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Knights actually, I saw a big resurgence in Knights when 8th first dropped. I saw Knights on the table all the time, like at every
Knights
event.
put out a lot of firepower. If you do like a Knights army, like if we're talking like straight up, like we're using Lords of War, do all Knights and you put Gilliman in there, so they're doing their. He gives them a reroll buff.
Oh,
if
jeez.
you get first turn, with 3 Knights, you can basically kill everything that'll hurt you.
Okay.
So that's one of the problems with the game. That's
Oh, that's the
a lot of
Alpha
people
Strike
that
problem.
want to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
like
yeah.
1 Knight. You can deal with 1 Knight. It can't really do that much damage. But if you do 3 and you put Gilliman behind, you're kind of fucked.
That's-
I'll
yeah.
take that against a Magnus list. No problem.
That's that big Alpha Strike issue that's
Yeah.
going on. And you know what, like when
Big.
GW
We need
tried,
line of sight blockers.
well, and when they tried to address that, they were like, yeah, take things like Scouts. And like, okay, well, not everyone can do that.
It's when Games Workshop goes to like the big cons, like they go to the big events like Nova or LVO or whatever, and they go like, "You're doing what? You're doing what? Like really? You're like, oh yeah, that's terrible. We didn't mean for you to do that. Like
That's when
they wouldn't think that you would do
FAQing
that,
that,
but
yeah.
of course, gamers game, right? So
Yeah, you know, to their credit, yes, they redid everything recently, but maybe they could benefit from having more competitive people in-house playtesting. Like, I know they reached out to the communities and all that. There's only so much you can lean on volunteers for. Like, if you hired some of those same people to just come work there and just play and improve it, I think that'd be a fantastic
what they need
idea.
to do is they need to get more people that game playtesting. So
Yeah.
you don't need playtesters like even like Frankie and Reset, Frontline Gaming. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
But even them, they have like this mindset of, oh, we're going to try everything out. We're going to make sure that everything works. No, what you need gaming dicks who are
Yeah.
like, I'm going to try and break this game.
Yes, exactly.
And like, what can I do to break this game? Like, you need dudes, not necessarily like me, guys that are worse than me, that like will come up with, oh, what if I took 10 collect assessment? That's good. What if I took all of that, right? Like that's the mindset of that would really fuck you over. Right?
And you know what? GW's stock has gone up. We know it.
Yep.
It's a fact. They're
Yep.
making lots of money. They've got beautiful, expensive kits. Get a couple guys in house just to grind all day, all friggin' day. You could pay
just
them,
get a team.
You
Get a
probably
team.
pay
You
each
get-
of them like $40,000 a
And
year, and they'd be
the thing
happier
is,
than like
how much time did we put into it for free? We paid
Yeah,
to do this.
yeah.
We pay to do this. If you're just like, you know what, like Games should just give a little sugar, like, you know what, we'll give you like a book early or whatever. People would be all over that.
For sure,
man.
yeah. If you have guys like Kyle, for example, who knows the rules inside out, he knows what's going on. He's like the kind of guy that if you paid him just to sit there all day and figure out dirty combos, you know, have Kyle playing against like 4 other Kyles constantly, and you'll figure out where the holes are in the rule set.
I could be a Kyle.
Exactly. There you go. You could be one of the Kyles.
I could be a Kyle.
We could have Kyle Steve.
Thing 1, thing 2.
Or like Styles.
Kyle,
We'll call
Kyle
him.
2.
Call him Styles.
Styles. Styles. Me and Kyle, a Steve Kyle combo.
Steve Kyle combo. Check it out, folks.
Yep.
Is there anything else we wanted to touch on here? I think we were going to go through Death Guard a little bit, but you know what?
We did go through
I
Death Guard.
can't find the book on my phone.
Oh,
I had it on my
well,
phone.
what do you remember? There's that. There's a command point that allows everybody in the unit to throw a grenade. That's one I really liked because
Yep.
you warp time 20 of them up, and then
Yeah.
you throw 20 grenades, which is just disgusting because it does mortal wounds. So you're throwing 20 plague grenades. That's something I'm scared of, Logan.
Yeah, that would
anybody
be
that plays
pretty sick.
Nurgle, that's pretty awful.
But
There's
it's there.
Spend a command point and this thing blows up. So you just drive
Yeah.
it right up the center and then blow it
Yeah.
up. That one's great. I love it.
I was reading Mortarian stuff today. It's pretty good. Like, he's got the great auras. He's got great
Yep.
strength, toughness. He's got that pistol that draws a straight line. Have you seen that? Where if he rolls and hits, you draw a straight line between him and the target.
Yep.
And then every unit in that line suffers a mortal wound on a 4-up, I think it is.
Perfect.
Yeah. Plus, he also has that, like, Lord of Nurgle thing where any enemy units, I think within 7 or possibly 10, suffer a mortal wound on a 4-up. He also lets people reroll to hit in
Yep.
general.
Which is
within
good.
Aura radius, yeah. So, and he's moving 12 inches a turn, I think. Like, he's overall strong as hell.
Yeah.
And that's expected. And
He's
actually,
good.
you know what? He's not that many points compared to what I thought he would be. I think he's under 500. And so, in my opinion, that's pretty reasonable for one of those giant-ass Lord of War Primarchs,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't even know
Agreed.
how much Guilliman is, to be honest. But
250, 290.
that doesn't seem like
Gilliman?
a lot.
I don't know. How much is Gilliman?
Someone in the
Somebody knows.
chat.
Somebody in the chat knows this.
You got 9 minutes to tell us how much Guilliman is worth.
Got 9 minutes left.
Logan, I'm looking at you. You knowledgeable bastard. Producer Matt, I'm looking at you.
Nobody knows. Mike's not on tonight. Mike Stozel. Sean Ovey, you know what? You might not know what Gilliman is. Somebody's got the index.
Yeah,
Somebody's got the Space Marine Codex.
Either way, Primarchs are dirty. We got a
Yeah.
new one on the block. He's very expensive.
Yep.
He's no like triumvirate box sets.
What do you think is going to be the next one? Because we got 2
Oh
Chaos.
God. Who've they been
Greg
leaning
Gilliman.
on? They've
Oh, it's going to be the Lion for sure. Although he could be Chaos, right? So maybe it'll be somebody else. No, it's not
which
going
one's
to be.
the Lion again?
That's
Dark Angels. Yeah.
They can't really do
That's,
Blood Angels because the Sanguinius died.
Well, he's dead.
He's
Yeah,
dead.
He's straight up dead. And I don't think they would do Blood
Russ,
Angels.
Lehman Russ. It'll be Russ. It'll be Russ.
It'll be Russ.
Yeah, for sure.
He makes the most sense.
Everybody,
and honestly,
there's so
there
many
hasn't
wolf
been enough
players
like.
too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one of the longest running,
Biggest
like specialist factions.
Yeah, fanboy.
But also too, like, there's no other Chaos faction that they've been like hyping up in a big way as of late. So I don't see it being Chaos. Considering Magnus was the last one,
Yeah.
not Gulliman, right?
350 points. Somebody thinks.
Okay, Logan says maybe 350. Corex and Rust from OV. OV also hates the Ultramarines. So do I, buddy. I'm with you on that. They are very... You know what I can't say about Ultramarines? It's like, when people are like, I play Ultramarines, if it wasn't for... what the hell was that formation that we talked about earlier? Skyhammer. Whenever people like in 3rd or like 5th or 6th edition were like, yeah, I play Ultramarines, I was like, why? Because that's the first picture you saw when you started this hobby? Like, did you not... Was nothing else worth looking at?
I don't like Ultramarines either. That's why
Oh,
I painted
God.
mine Silver Skulls. Because
Also-
they're a successor chapter.
And like, why would you play them back in the day when they had no special rules? There's like Blood Angels, there's Dark Angels,
Yeah.
there's Black Templars, Space Wolves. They all had sick
Maybe they
rules,
weren't
you
win
know?
at all costs, Dan. Maybe they didn't.
Yeah,
have to
maybe,
win. Maybe they
you
were
know,
playing
yeah.
for the fluff.
That was like
They're fluffing their opponent.
when I was bitching about orcs not being competitive at a certain game store. I remember the response I
Hey-o.
got was like, "Well, not every army has to be competitive," and I was like, I feel like that's not a like valid answer.
I think that's more like you could keep your orcs and buy another army.
So what do you tell people when you're selling them this stuff? Like, hey, you seem soft and stupid.
Yeah.
Like, you'll enjoy this.
Did I ever
This
tell you I
is
used
the
to
get
work for
beat
Games
every
Workshop?
time one. Did you?
I did, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the early 90s, I worked for Games Workshop.
What was it doing, like, in what capacity?
I was the casual at the store.
I didn't know they had one.
So I did, yeah, there was a full-time, there was a manager, a full-timer, and a casual. This is in Vancouver, in the Gastown store.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
I was like, because Winnipeg didn't...
no.
We couldn't have supported that.
So I used to do the
in
painting
90s.
clinics. Like I'd help kids paint their models and stuff. And I would do intro games. And when you work at Games Workshop, when somebody plays an intro game, they win. That's the rule. They get to win, which is fine. Enjoy, because that'll be the last game you win for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used
Gotta
to
give 'em
also
that
be.
taste.
I was like the
First one's
hammer, like
free.
when somebody would bring. There'd be like a 12-year-old kid bring his like high elves in with like one bolt thrower, and they were really into it. They painted them all up, and then some dick would bring a bloodthirster in that would just stomp all over their army.
Yeah.
I would be the guy that played against him. I played the dick.
Yeah.
So like same
Whip
guy.
the dick?
He had it was Space Wolf's Dreadnought had just first came out, the boxy Dreadnought,
Like the metal
and
one?
he painted it all month long. He painted it and painted it and painted it and painted it. I took a captain and dropped a vortex grenade on it first thing, first turn. Just like, fuck you, buddy. That's for being mean to kids. That's what you get.
Well, some guys need to get hard.
Some guys need to get kicked in the dick.
Yeah, and then you kick him in that hard old dick. And hopefully it's not too hard. You don't want to hurt your foot.
I wear steel toes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, yeah. I should really upgrade.
You should.
I wear gum toes.
Gum toes.
Standard
on
shoes. Oh, God. What do we got in this chat here?
We got another
Gabe Todd
4
says it better
minutes.
be Lehman Russ. 40BG says, thanks for the shout out from Derek.
We got 5 minutes.
Yuri Pierogi, man, I'd love
Hey,
Russ
Yuri.
to come out. That's right. 360 for Robute. Okay, we got an answer from
360. Reboot Gilliman.
How many people are on this 40BG staff now? It looks like we got quite a
It's
few.
everybody in the community.
Yeah, it's
It's on.
literally everyone in
Everybody.
the chat right now.
Everybody who's not a graybeard is on 40 below.
Technically, the
staff.
camera's not even running right now. This is just an open thread.
Yeah,
of
pretty
people
much.
talking.
Open thread.
We've just been making shit up for an hour.
We want to see some more gaming groups, and if I can talk about the graybeards for a little bit, we've got
Good idea,
the
yeah.
Fort Rouge Gaming Collective or something. There's some kind of they sound communist.
There's
I'm
also
not sure.
Fawcett Avenue conscripts.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Those
Oh,
are
who's in them?
like Dave Villago and Kevin. I can't remember his last name. Also, a dude named Darcy. They play a lot of different games. They have a blog, Fawcett Avenue Conscripts. check it out. I love 40K blogs, especially the local ones.
Cool.
They post pretty frequently. There's usually
Maybe
2 or
we'll
3
challenge
offers,
them.
But yeah,
Dave's
there's
a
some of
good
the
guy.
old school guys.
I played against him. He played Eldar.
It's mostly the old school guys. Like they do the second. I think they started like early, like second, third ed kind of thing. And
Nice.
they do a lot of bolt action though. From what I can tell online, they also do a lot of Infinity. I think
Right.
so. Sort of.
Well, we'll
over
throw
the
a challenge
map,
down, but the more chapters, the better. We'll get some Winnipeg chapters going. Us Greybeards, I think, are going to make a trophy, and then we're going to pass around at tournaments.
Yeah.
It'll go from one to another.
We used to have the basement crew, which we were trying to figure out a name for.
The cellar dwellers,
They've kind of. I think wasn't that a store at some point. I don't know.
probably.
It kind of
It
like
might have been a porn, actually.
like staying in the cellar.
The cellar dwellers.
There's I don't know. Some of the guys are now playing a lot more Infinity. I'm not quite as into it because 40K is nostalgic for me. You know, I need that nostalgia.
Yep.
I like it. That's what brings me back every time. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, start a gaming group. If you don't have one already,
Do it.
You should do it. Like Derek has a crew of dudes that are now starting to come out to all the events. He used to just play at his house. You
Yeah.
know? I met a lot of them at his house once.
Yep.
And started seeing them out.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's the one of the Fort Rouge. I don't know if he's the leader of the Fort Rouge or whatever. The Fort Rouge guys. He's a guy I know from the Fort Rouge guys.
He's a guy who's always out spray painting garage doors.
That's right.
In the middle of the night.
Fort Rouge represent. It's like an F like this or something.
40K.
Fort Rouge. I'll make an R. Fort Rouge represent.
Spray paint.
Down with the blood. The Fort Rouge blood.
Oh boy, we're getting intense over here. Yeah. I know how to do that one too, actually. Yep. Woo! There it is. My favorite is when people do it and it says booled.
Bold.
Well, with 2 O's. Mm-hmm. So it's like booled. It's like a ghost saying bold.
Yes.
That's very bold of you. That was terrible. All right, well, you know what? We're getting kind of like at the tail end here of the show, Steve. So is there anything else that you think is worth mentioning? Oh,
No.
The show is also brought to you by Hidden City Comics, located on Watt Street. As with all the addresses of our sponsors, I don't remember the number.
It's 1,000,095.
714 Watt Street. Awesome store. 1,000,095.
Or it could be 714.
Steve actually brought with him a list of 1,095 reasons to visit Hidden City Comics. That's going to be
Number
going
one,
on.
George is a nice guy.
It's going to be going
Number
on
two,
all night as he works his way through it. 300,740. Or no, that wouldn't be. Yeah, actually no, that works. 300,740.
300,740.
I'm a little bit
Silly.
tipsy. Yeah,
Oh.
getting there.
Nice.
Anyway, well, without further ado,
What I learned this podcast was that I run out of beer, so I'll have to buy more for next podcast.
and what I learned was that being
I don't want to take a
yourself
break though. I like to
is
go. I don't
what's
like
always
to.
cool.
I'm not a quitter, man. I like to go straight through. Yeah,
The ladies love that too, Steve.
that's what they say. Yeah.
No breaks.
No breaks. Just as fast as possible. Love you,
Give me
Susie.
the old-fashioned jackhammer.
Yeah.
Like you're building
Like you're
a
in a
road.
race. How come I never get to win the race?
Like you've been
Is
under the
often
sun
asked.
for 14 hours laying asphalt. And you got to break some of it up for the manhole.
That's breaking asphalt for the manhole. And with that, I think we're gonna call it. Thanks, gentlemen.
Chunks flying everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, what is the outro that we had again this time? There's something about horses last time, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're talking about horse cocks.
There it is, folks.
Okay.
Okay, without further ado,
Don't let your meatloaf.
don't let your meatloaf and always respect a horse.
Cock.
Chunks flying everywhere.